Sunday show presented by the Company Burger and Chris Smith Realty. Chris Smith of Ladder and Bloom is one of the top realtors in New Orleans for a free marketing valuation of your property. To book a property tour or to talk real estate, give him a call at 504-231-2004. Lido in studio tonight. Chris Connor virtual. We got a special guest in studio, Ivory Clark. Ivory, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining.
Man, thanks so much for having me.
Before we get on, is Memorial Day. We'd like to take this time to thank all the brave men and women who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our freedom. We want to remember you this on Memorial Day. Let's get into the show. Chris, it's good to see you, man. How are you doing?
All good, brother, man. Good to be here. Good to have another Sunday. Let's get into it.
All right, let's do it. I'm starting off with you.
That was deep, Chris.
Chris, I'm starting off with you. A couple things regarding Zion Williamson. Okay, let's get into it. So I'm interested to hear everybody's thoughts on this, right? So Charles Barkley came on a podcast. I think it was talking with Kenny. I forget exactly what the podcast name was called, but he had talked about how Zion reminds himself of him, right? And he had a veteran like Moses Malone say, "Get your fat ass in shape," is what that's the quote he said, right? And so he was talking about to Zion on how he has to take care of his body and how Charles Barkley, how he had to lose 50 pounds, so on and so forth. Me and you talked about this. I'm going to get Lito's thoughts and Ivory's thoughts as well. Do you think that it would be a good idea for Zion to reach out to someone like Charles Barkley?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it would hurt, I mean, the comparisons have been there for a long time. And, I don't think in any, no matter what field or what branch of, life you're at, if you can reach to someone that's been through something comparable or even it's someone contrasting, I mean, advice is advice. And what you do with it is just, it's just it. How you apply it is, it's up to you. But I think, I mean, and as we have here the label, right, it's up to Zion. But yeah, man, I mean, Charles has been talking about this for a while, and that particular story about Moses, and he talked about a few of the other vets and Mo Cheeks and company that challenged him early on to lose weight, and it wasn't something in which I remember it was like 10 pounds at a time. It was like, all right, I need you to get here, I need you to get here, I need you to get here. He ended up, I think they had him at like 250, and then Chuck was like, I'm not really comfortable with that. And 260 was his playing weight for the majority of his career. So. It's always good to hear Chuck talk about stuff like that because, it's clear that, Zion could use help from someone who's been there, especially someone who appears to be as a part of or involved or kind of surrounded by or drawn to basketball history. Charles is right there. And if I remember correctly, I don't know if Charles said it or someone else did, they haven't had many or if any personal conversations. That's a little crazy to me. So maybe the relationship or Chuck's lack thereof with Mike at this point, Charles and Zion being signed to Jordan, maybe that plays a role. I'm not sure, but I would love for that conversation to happen because I think they were in similar situations, and you saw once Chuck completely transformed his body, what it did for his career and his ultimate longevity in the league.
Yeah, you did mention that, Chris. They have never met. Charles Barkley actually mentions that. Also, I want to get your thoughts on this final question because someone had I retweeted and quote tweeted it and gave my thoughts on it, but someone had said, why would he listen to somebody that's already made fun of him in his weight? Do you think that matters? No, it's serious. Like, Charles a couple of years ago had, he was making fun of him on the show. Like, they make fun of everybody, but do you think that plays a part in why maybe Zion hasn't reached out?
I mean, maybe, but who cares, bro? Like we're adults. Like I make fun of my friends all the time. I mean, it's three.
I would show love.
I mean, all the people that work. Like I really only make fun of people that I care about, that I want to do well. Like at the end of the day, is he trying to help him? That's it. I don't like, regardless of the fact of the joke and so on and so forth. Zion should be looking. In this situation, I would say use Charles Barkley as a tool of sorts. I mean, you're using him as it doesn't mean that you guys have to be buddy and y'all have to be Y'all got to be best friends and talk after every game. But I mean, if Charles has jewels or has things that are applicable for Zion, I don't care who it is. Like, especially not off commentary or jokes. If this person can help me, can help my business, can help my career, can help my future for me, my family, my rep, my vision. Why wouldn't you use it, regardless of what's said on TV? Like it's the clearest conversation that I think out of any that Zion could have when it comes to former players. That is the clearest and I think the most impactful / helpful conversation that needs to be had.
Yeah, well said. And Lito, we talk about leadership all the time, right? Well, I keep seeing more and more CJ McCollum trying to be a leader, and not only just a leader in the locker room, right? We have questioned that, but he's starting to become vocal outside the locker room. Whether it be social media, podcasts, and whatever it may be. And he came out with a quote. He was on the Ryan Russillo podcast on Thursday, and he had this to say. He said, "I've had serious conversations with Zion on multiple occasions, not just me, also Larry Nance. And I said this to him: you can be as good as you want to be, and that's not for everybody." A lot of people have knocked CJ, including me. I knock him for more of his play, but I know he's battling through injury, and I applaud him for that. But when you hear stuff like that, and when you see, and Ivory, I want to get your thoughts on this too. When you see that,
yeah,
that's him being a leader. And like some people are like, "Oh, CJ, this." No, like this is what we want from your veteran leader. And like, what did you think of that quote on Ryan Russillo's podcast?
I think that I think CJ for the better part of the last 20 games that I'm aware of has done a great job trying to keep the locker room accountable, not just Zion, but everybody in the locker room. I'm encouraged that he continues to speak out because I feel like that's what a veteran and the veteran on this team is supposed to do. The guy with the most playoff experience on the team, like if anybody, he's the one to follow. And I feel like as far as how the message is being told, when you got young guys like Zion or Brandon or whoever, like this social media age is how they're used to receiving information anyway. So to me, I don't think that's a slight. I think that is communication and kind of like heightening the message to them. I can tell you, right? But once I speak on it on a public platform, it's more so of, hey, look, I had this conversation with you privately. Now, like, I'm letting the world know I'm holding you accountable going forward. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is and like that's a real last statement. You are as good. He is gonna be as good as he wants to be. Like, this is completely on Zion. It's on nobody else.
Right. No, it's also Ivory. You played high level basketball, and what's it like when a veteran leader, someone like CJ, who has won the league, and now he hasn't been to an NBA Finals, but he's won the league. He's well respected throughout the league. What's that like for a young player like Zion? I know he's year 5, but he's still 22 years old. What's that like to hear from someone like CJ?
Well, that should absolutely be a vote of confidence to Zion, that someone of CJ's magnitude came to him and told him how great he think he can be. Right. Hearing that from one of your veteran leaders should instill you to be greater. I think CJ does a great job of exhibiting leadership skills with the guys behind closed doors. And if you're Zion, man, you have to take it upon yourself to understand how much those guys want you to succeed and want you to be great, and apply it and be the best basketball player that he can be.
Yeah, and I agree. Go ahead.
I just want to add something to this. You were asking, and I'm not making fun of you. I'm just saying I see the public perception like, why should Zion want to get consult from Charles Barkley? Like, what?
Oh, he's a Hall of Famer.
Yo,
one of the best basketball players ever played.
Yo, bro, like going same, not the same game per se. Zion is way more explosive, but as far as like body type, body style, you know what I'm saying? Like taking a ball off the rim, going coast to coast, like being exciting, being electric. Like, yo, that's Chuck. And then if you add in the 3 that Chuck added on later in his career, like, who else would you want to learn from? Like, you can like literally look at the blueprint of your particular game and find out how Charles unlocked himself to get to that MVP level, right? But the other thing too, I want to say this. I think I just want to say, I don't think Zion's problem is coming into the season in shape. Because to his credit, he came into the season in shape.
It's not the problem. A lot of people get that mixed up.
It's staying in shape.
It's staying in shape. It's staying in shape.
But it's also staying. I'm sorry to cut you off because I don't want to lose this train of thought. But I understand injuries happen, but you have to be able to.
It's after the injury.
Yeah, it's the injury. And I understand it's a hamstring, it's a lower body injury, but there are still ways to keep yourself in shape. And I think that was one of his main problems.
I do have one piece of advice that like Zion is never gonna hear this. He don't
you never know.
I mean, I'm not even important enough to listen to, right? But let me say this: if there's anybody I would like to recommend him working out with, it's Drew Holiday's trainer. I cannot think of his name, but I think on IG is Mr. Keep It Moving. And I think Zion should literally get with him just because of the core work that they put in. And he does so much lower body work with Drew or whoever like is working out. Like I think that would be a guy that he should seek out.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Chris, do you think I know you're not gonna know this answer, but do you, like, for instance, we know Trey's reached out to or Trey and Reggie have worked together, right? And Jose's reached out to, I think it was Tony Parker, and they worked together. Do you know of anybody that Zion's reached out to? Like that was successful in the league, someone like a Charles Barkley or someone like Tony Parker for Jose. Do you know if he's done that, and if he hasn't done it, should he do it?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think he should. I haven't necessarily heard of it. It doesn't mean that it hasn't happened. But I think that and this is kind of like part of the issue when it comes to Zion, maturing is the fact of when you don't really know these things and you don't hear about them, you kind of are forced to make your own or draw your own conclusion, when we're having these conversations. And, the only thing I can think of, Justin, is that, it feels like every year he's had to deal with something. And he appears to be the guy that once he's dealt with these kind of situations, specifically with injury, he just shuts down and completely, draws away from people. And we've heard about that on a lot of different levels, right? Some privately and some public. And I think that might get in the way of him reaching out to these individuals for whatever reason. But yeah, man, I mean, and you know what? And you want to do it before it's too late, man. You don't want to wait until you get the wrong injury that completely changes your game and your style and zaps away your athleticism, and then start reaching out to folks. Do it now while you're still able to get over some of these things and different surgeries, different injuries aside, and you're still able to be one of the more unique and impactful athletes that we've seen. Reach out to these people now, while you have your youth, while you have and I mean, and regardless if they're critical, man, some people that I dislike and completely have kind of stepped away from in life give me some of the best advice I could handle. I mean, it really don't matter the source sometimes. It's really the message. You know what I'm saying? And I think for him, I hope that's what's in play. He ain't got to do it just simply with his family or just with, the people that are closest to him, trainer, teammates, or within. Have these people help you, you know what I'm saying, that have been through similar or comparable situations, man, and combine that to be the best overall player that you could be. Because the dude that we saw this or last season, I don't even think from a physical standpoint is the best Zion. And that's what's crazy because he was an MVP candidate. And I don't even think that's the best version of him that we can see.
But I also think that takes a level of humility to reach out first. I don't know Zion personally, but to pick up the phone and call someone that you don't know, who made fun of you, who you don't know, don't have a relationship with, that really takes a different type of person to initiate that conversation. And is Zion that type of person to do that? I mean, that remains to be seen.
Man, that's a great point, because I think about what you just said is because he still never, when the whole CJ thing happened, he didn't reach out to CJ when CJ got traded to New Orleans. And I'm not like trying to bash him, Lito, but it does seem that maybe he's not comfortable doing it, right? Maybe he's just not comfortable doing it. And that comes with maturity. I probably wasn't comfortable doing it as 22 years old either. But Lito, I think it's something that's not talked about enough is that I do think, and Teaspoon's done a great job with Zion and mentally and trying to get through these things. But there are other people I think that Zion could reach out to help him through these things, and not only on the court, but also off the court.
Man, I think it's everything Ivory said. I think for me is self actualization is key. Knowing who you are and where you are at this particular point in your life. Like maybe Zion don't feel particularly comfortable doing it himself, right? But maybe he has an assistant, or he has if his dad is handling his business for him, right? Maybe his dad can build a bridge to get to. And this is the other thing too. Like I think young athletes, people in general, like everybody not gonna like you. So what? Somebody made fun of you. Like nobody owes you nothing. Like you looking at a dude who done climbed the mountain when he been there. So when he's sitting down like pointing fingers at people, like I get his jokes because Charles is funny, but a lot of jokes have truth in them. And right, like if
it goes back to the humility thing. Like if I was making fun of you on a national stage, you're talking about millions and millions and millions of people. Do you think you'd have the balls to be able to reach out to me and be like, hey man, I'm struggling?
If you I'm gonna tell you this. If you Charles Barkley, I know you make fun of everybody.
Right, but I'm not saying Zion's like immature, but you're at a stage in your life where you've matured and you've seen it all the way through. Like as a 22-year-old, right?
Yeah.
Could you do that?
I mean, probably not. No.
But I think the maturity.
Look, it's people surrounding him. Sorry, go ahead, Chris.
No. I mean, look at the end of the day, at some point, because none of us are saying things. I think right now, like we all want him to be the best version of himself. Whether that means he plays whether Zion plays another NBA basketball game, I hope he's the best version of himself that he can possibly be. And part of that, no matter which route he takes next, is to look in the mirror or somebody that's next to him to be like, all right, well, look, we are 4 years in. Obviously, the way that we're doing it, the way that you're doing it, something's not working. And I don't care. And we've all had to have that look in the mirror. Unfortunately, at 22, that's a tough look. But it is what it is. We all got to look in the mirror at some point before it's too late. You know what I'm saying? And if you catch it early, even better, and say, all right, something I'm doing ain't right. Like, there's something else that I need to be doing that's better. Something has to change. And I think gradually he's been doing some of these things. I mean, I think we got to give him some credit for some of these perspectives. You know what I'm saying? I do think he is gradually doing, whether it be his interactions with folks, him joking a little bit more, his outfit choices, the Dickie fit was, was dope. Just being a little bit more aware. I think he's growing in that, in that particular area. Hopefully there's another stage to that that we're going to see, starting, this October or going forward. I mean, it's the best we can hope for.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think to Chris's point, when you asked me would I have done it at 22, I can't lie, I wouldn't have done it at 22. But I also was never in a position to be the best basketball player, NBA.
Right.
I never was in a position to get an MVP. I never was in a position to possibly get $200 and whatever $1 million. Right. The stakes are a little bit higher for him. They're a lot higher for him. And I think you got to ask yourself, I think the thing is you got to ask yourself, like, yo, it's all like if I got the information, that Ivory wanted the information, like, yo, it's all on you. Like, how bad you want it? Because I got mine. In Charles' case, I got mine. You know what I'm saying?
It's funny because Charles said that. He goes, most Malone said that when I was like on a contract for like $3 million. Like he goes, Zion, you have a chance to make $500 million. Like he can make $500-something million. Like he's saying, like, if you just focus and get your mind right. But Ivory, I want to get back to like this will be the last point because I think when Zion posts, and I had this conversation with Ludo, Chris, is that you saw Luka working out, whatever it was, going up the steps, and he's putting out workout videos about being in shape. But Ivory, Zion had just posted on Instagram 3 days ago. It's a picture of him, and he's kind of flexing to the crowd, and he's saying how it's a quote from the Jay-Z. Is that correct? Thank you. How can I ease the stress and learn to live with these regrets? Did I say that right? Is that good? Is that good, Chris?
Yeah.
What do you think of that? Do you think it's him trying to maybe make a connect to the fan base? Maybe, hey, I'm working my way back, or do you think it's nothing?
I think it is an appeal to the fan base, but I also think Zion is a very hard worker, which may actually be counterproductive for his body type. I think certain athletes are different. Certain athletes need to take a long time off in the summer and kind of like let their body heal. Some athletes need to work all the time and come into camp in great shape. I think Zion, from what I understand, him being trained as a professional basically since he was 5 years old, his body is probably older than what it really is. And I think he may actually need to, decrease his volume of his workload in the offseason. Maybe that will help with his injuries problem. But from everything I understand, he does work hard. And again, I think, that post was definitely letting people know that, he's probably working out and back to himself, and he's feeling himself again. So not to forget who he is.
Interesting. Chris, what'd you think of that post? Do you think it was anything?
I'm tired of posts, man. I respectfully, like I'm tired of posts, but
yes.
but from any Pelicans player at this point, right? I'm just over all of it, and it's nothing against Zion. It's nothing against anybody. I'm just over social media posts at this point. So it's good to see. I mean, hopefully, that means that he's in like Ivory said. Hopefully, that means that he's back to himself. That's great. But I'm over comments and posts and workouts. Like, I'm ready to fast forward to actual basketball and roster changes and victories, and like that's where I'm at. I'm Instagram posts, Twitter, like it don't really do nothing for me at this point when I'm watching Boston and Miami in a 7-game series. I mean, I don't say, like, look, if he's back to feel like himself, great. Hopefully we get another post in 2 months, and the people that saying something even crazier, like that's great. I'm really trying not to be insensitive right now. I just don't care. And that's just me. Like, respectfully.
Hey, I thought you had one of the best tweets of the weekend. Is like, I don't care who we trade, whatever. Can we just whatever the tweet was perfect.
I really don't care.
Can we just play basketball and win some basketball games?
That's really it. I just want to watch basketball. That's it.
That's all. Yeah, simple man, dude.
This is my last point on this. I just want to see how y'all felt about this. Like, Gilbert Arenas had a pod where he was talking to Brandon Jennings about NBA players being in shape, particularly Joel Embiid. And the point was, yes, Embiid is in shape, but he's not in fourth quarter elite MVP basketball.
What makes you say that? Because why? I'm
gonna give you Gil's perspective.
Okay.
Gil said because if you look at how Gil Embiid plays the game in the fourth, he's only shooting elbow jumpers. He's not taking a contact. He's not dominant. He's not forcing the action anymore. He's literally just taking what you give him because he doesn't have the energy to keep attacking. So from his perspective, he was like, Joel is not in shape. And I just wanted to see what y'all thought about that in reference to just the conversation we having.
I think it's hard to say. I think it's hard to say. Like, I'm not like discrediting him. I'm just saying he's probably making really good points. But how do you know what is in shape? Like, is Jason Tatum in shape? Because he struggled in the fourth quarter too. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, Joel Embiid put up a ridiculous year this year. And I think, like, people love to overreact on playoffs, and rightfully so. And I think that he kind of faded away against the Celtics, but that happens, right? And so I don't know. I just are you trying to ask the question? Do you think Zion's in shape in the fourth quarter? Is that like, because, like,
I mean, we could ask it. I mean, I
just, like, I haven't seen enough of it. I haven't seen Zion in the fourth quarter much, you know?
I don't think. I mean, because I watched him play back-to-back games, playing, like, the most minutes that he had ever logged as a pro during that run, during those winning streaks. And I mean, the end of the fourth quarter, like the Timberwolves game, for example, he looked like no better than in the fourth quarter. He looked no different from the guy in the first. So
you can't forget,
but it wasn't.
It was ridiculous.
I mean, and that was after playing 40 minutes against the Suns. Like, so it's not like. I think with Zion, it's not necessarily like, for me, game to game, what is he first versus fourth? It's not that. It's how do we find a way? It's game 1 to game 10, game 10 to game 25, game 25, 45. We're trying to get as many games out of this 82 as possible. I ain't worried about necessarily the minutes. We got to figure out how to get this brother more games. And I don't know. And that's the mystery. Is it a shape thing? Is it just a body thing? Is it a luck thing? Is it a preparation thing? We laughed about the what was it? The Slam conference, the Slam magazine convo with him, CJ, and BI. And CJ was talking about he spends this many minutes before game stretching, and Zion and BI were kind of laughing about it. Well, is that a thing? Ivory, that would probably be a better question to ask Ivory, to be honest, in regards to just the overall preparation when we're talking about enduring a season and being available and ready for as many games as possible.
Yeah, I think every athlete is totally different, and I think if you base it on what CJ is doing, it may not be best for Zion. I think certain athletes need tailored individual preparation to make it through a season. Maybe Zion needs more time stretching. Maybe he needs more yoga classes. Maybe need things that'll help with soft tissue. Maybe more hydration. Maybe better sleep quality. Maybe less practices. I mean, you have to tailor regimen for each player by their body type, and not everybody on the same plane. And I think if you look at it that way, I think you may get a better result.
And CJ had mentioned, was in his post game? No, it wasn't right after the Thunder, Chris, but he had mentioned, I think maybe it wasn't exit interviews, but it was like a podcast where he was talking about, I've been sleeping right, I've been stretching right, I've been taking care of my body. And it was like one of those podcasts where like
that was his.
It was his podcast, right, and he was talking about that. So, listen, man, I'm expecting a big year from Zion, and I know we're gonna do this again. I really am. And look, I texted Lito. I was like, "Yo, I'm not ready to give it." I get frustrated. Don't get me wrong. I think we all get frustrated, but like, I'm okay with, like, I want to see what 14-1 can do, because when they're I've seen what one can do. He can take over a game in a heartbeat.
One a tough out. That Timberwolves game.
I just vividly remember watching the Suns. I'm like, holy shit, this dude is different.
Just different.
He is like, I'm like, I watched a lot of basketball, good and bad, and I'm like, wow,
he moving in 5K. Like, that's
how do we get more of that?
Yeah,
right. And that's and Chris, that's the $1 million question. But let's get to the next segment of the show. This is gonna be a good one. I'm really excited about this. I'm gonna start with Chris. We'll go Chris, Lito, then Ivory. But I'm gonna name a player, and y'all are going to answer what you would like to see added to their game this offseason. All right, Chris, we're gonna start with you. We're gonna go with Zion Williamson.
We're talking just like attributes.
Yeah,
like,
they could be defense, could be offense. On the court. What would you like to see added to his game?
What would I like to see Zion add to his game? That's a really good question. I think based off of how they use him, and since I'm forced to think about this team when healthy, like I have to like give a part of my brain that idea that we will see this team and hope that they'll be healthy. And based off how they use him, a little like how much post work he's giving and how many post looks that he gets, I would like to see maybe a little bit more refinement there, maybe a little bit more work, and that could be a jump hook, that could be more middies, that could be that could be a spin, that could be a post spin, that could be a bunch of different things. It could be an additional move. I feel like when this team is healthy, and if we have to hope that we see that, and if that's the case, and we aren't going to see as much of Point Zion at their best, if we're going to be seeing a lot of him or a portion of him playing out of the post, I think I would like to see some advancement there.
It's crazy. I think about Zion Williamson, Lito. I think about Zion Williamson's footwork and post-up work, as Chris is saying, and you got Billy Hernangomez right there. Like, Billy has move after move, up and under. He's got good footwork. He's got right. He's got left. He go up and under. We're gonna go to you next. I'll laugh at this one. Dyson Daniels. And you can't say look at the rim. That doesn't.
Don't be disrespectful.
That doesn't count.
Don't be disrespectful.
What gives you the idea that I would ever?
I see the look in your face.
You look down first. And just
I see the look in your face.
A skill.
That's crazy.
No. I'm just repeating.
I asked you not to be disrespectful.
I didn't mean it.
I asked you, and I said it about 3 times. I said, "Don't be."
No, that can't.
And you said, and you lied to me. You said, "What gives you the idea that I would ever be disrespectful?"
Bro, I was just repeating the question.
That's crazy. Go ahead.
I mean, okay, like, man, I want him to work on his aggressiveness. I don't like as a skill for sure. I would want him to become a more impactful ball handler. I want him to be a guy who could. He sees himself as a point guard in listening to him in his interviews. That's how he views it. He views his game. Just from the role that he played, he just didn't look comfortable being a ball handler. He didn't look comfortable as a backcourt guy. He looked like a connective type guy. Like he looked like a wing, right? If I want to see him improve in that area, I want to see his aggressiveness. I want to see when he gets into the paint, he gives us the pad and the spin. I want him to at that point, like, look, I know you didn't say it, but bro, you gotta look at the rim. The only way you can be aggressive is to know your surround. All right, I can't say look at the rim. I want you to be aware of your surroundings when you're on the court. You know what I'm saying? And that way, like when you have a smaller player on you, like get your little floater off, get your little, you know what I'm saying, whatever. Like get your Australian step. You know what I'm saying? I ain't want to say Euro. It's not disrespectful to man. I want him to
your Australian step. Unbelievable.
That's what I want from Dyson. I want aggressiveness. I want better ball handling
and Australian stepping.
What is an Australian step?
Oh, I couldn't say. I was about to say Euro. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Ivory, you're up next.
That's crazy. Why would you do that? Why would you even ask me that question?
I do, because you know what, Chris? I thought, Chris, you love this. I thought really hard today. I spent like 30 minutes. I'm like, what players am I going to go with? And I had Dyson Circle. I'm like, this would be a good one. Ivory, Herb Jones.
Shooting. I think Herb Jones improved his shooting, his three-point shooting in particular. I think that unleashes a whole nother realm, a dynamic realm for his team. So just being aggressive, being assertive, more offensively. And I think that a lot of that stems from shooting. So Herb Jones, again, improves on that three-point shot. I think, man, that opens the ceiling for this team so much.
Yeah, and that's probably the biggest thing with Herb is shooting. And Lito, he shot pretty well there at the end of the year. Obviously won a lot of volume, but I think that I completely agree with Ivory, because if he adds the three ball to where it's like 37, 38%, it completely changes the game, right? And driving lanes galore for Brandon, for CJ, for Zion. And but also, Ivory, you watch the show a lot. We've talked about involving Herb in the action.
Yeah.
Because when you stick him in the corner, it doesn't fit him well, right? I feel like he's a player that if you have the ball in his hands and or he's in the screens, he's rubbing, he's flaring, he's doing slot cutting, slipping, etc. That's when you see him at his best.
Yeah, now you're about to get in a whole roster construction and coaching philosophy discussion. Beautiful.
Okay, Chris, second round. We'll go with. I'll give you a layup. No, I'm not giving you a layup. I'm not giving you Trey Murphy. I'll give you.
You gave me Dyson. You go give.
No, I'm not. Out of respect for you. We'll go with Brandon Ingram.
What I'd like to see Brandon improve.
I gave him Zion and Brandon.
Man, 3-point shooting. But
explain.
But I think spot up shooting, because and the willingness to want to take that shot. I think that Jimmy Butler is a perfect example of this. Jimmy's a guy who, for the most part, doesn't shoot them. He's in a poke. He's playing right now in a series against a Boston team that is forcing him to shoot threes. And it's working out. It's working out for him more than, but even through the playoff, I would say through the entire playoffs, he's shooting more. Like the 3-point shooting volume is up. And we saw from Brandon in those short games when Zion and CJ were healthy, he did have a lot of those opportunities. They were open and he was able to knock them down. But even when that's not the case, and when Zion's out or when CJ's out, I think that for this team, because even if they add a shooter or two, I don't know how great of a shooting team that they will be. But I do think with Brandon, the ability is there, but I think he needs to shoot more, can help this team. He's one of the guys that has, he's going to have an advantage I would say in the way that he's being guarded, teams are looking for drives. They are looking to stop him to get into his spots. Throw them off and attempt more threes. The ability is there. We've seen it in stretches. I think that can help this team. They need more guys that are willing to shoot them. And I think he's shown in flashes that he's able to do it. We've seen him I know his first season was one example. Second, I think he was decent as well. I want to see him get back to that. Even if I know what his bread and butter is, I want to see B.I. shoot more threes. Whether or not the team's healthy, like regardless of that, put more up.
We talked about that, Chris, on the last podcast, and I talked about what if he's not comfortable putting up a lot of volume threes, and then Lito literally said almost to the point of like he made the point of Jimmy Butler. It's not the volume of threes; it's when you take the threes. I think Jimmy hit a huge three late in that fourth quarter last night, Lito, and I actually texted you. I said Jimmy three strategic. Is that what you mean more of, or do you more of?
Yeah, I mean, because look, I mean, teams are going to when they're healthy, they're damn sure gonna try to stop the Pelicans. Most of the defensive attention is going to be centered around the free throw line, the paint, and stopping these guys from getting looks at the basket, getting to their spots and getting to their areas. Well, CJ, while he's a really good 3-point shooter, he wants to get to spots in the mid-range. Brandon's the same type of individual. We know with Zion wants to get to the paint. I think it's just the smartest element for him, his ability already to create his own shot. I just think it makes the most sense. Defenses are going to defend them and give them a little bit of space when you have them, and you are going to run high screening action, and teams are consistently going under, repeatedly. There's no need to necessarily be stubborn or I mean, even if that is like we know his strength, and even if we know he's not comfortable, find a way to become more comfortable. Work on that in the offseason. I think it'll make his life a little bit easier, help him later on in games when teams are being really, really physical on him. And maybe it might help and change the way teams choose to defend him. I watched defenses go under on screens when he was at the top of the key a little bit too often for a guy with his ability, when he chooses to attack from that area.
Yeah, well said. Lito, I'm going to throw a complete curveball at you. You never said player, so what would you like to see Willie Green add to his game?
Chris, what's up? what's up Justin today?
What would you like to see? We talk about it. No. Because we're an honest podcast. We talk about this. What do you want to see Willie add to his game this year? Because you know what, Chris, he brought his laptop. He's been bringing his laptop.
You look real professional.
He's got these like pre-recorded answers. I want to throw curveballs at him. What do you want to see, Willie?
I can freestyle.
I know you can.
Listen, let's say this. I want the things that I want for Willie Green, a lot like the main thing that I want for Willie Green is not in control of. Willie Green cannot provide health. He cannot keep the players we need on the floor. So holding him accountable for one playing however many games he played and 14 playing however many games he played, like it's hard. It's pretty insufferable to be Willie Green right now because you have all this. Pardon?
That's a cop out.
That's
better
a cop
than that.
out?
Yeah, you better than that. You better than that.
Hold on. I got you. Let me get through the message.
Okay, brother.
You're not gonna preach it before I even pull. I ain't even passing around the plate yet. Oh. All right, so Pete, what I want for Willie Green is I want for Willie Green to have team health, so we can then see his game plan unfold. Because to be honest, you got 10 games, right? Mm-hmm. You got 10 games. It's hard for me to hold your feet to the fire on a lot of things. Like I don't even know the game. What's the game plan?
I can't believe you're gonna ask me what the game plan is?
I'm saying we know it's 0.5 basketball, but I'm saying you saw 10 games of it, right? You saw 10 games of it. So it's hard for me to look. All right. So you take Zion out, right? And you put Larry Nance in, right? So Larry Nance gonna be Zion. It's not the same. It's not the same like type of. It's literally the game plan changes. Brandon misses however many games he missed, and Trey is Trey's gonna be a phenomenal basketball player, but Trey, go be Brandon right now. Yo, like it's hard to put Willie in these type of positions. But I will say, if I gotta nitpick at something, it's just in-game adjustments for me. I think that's the thing that.
Wait,
like what?
I like that question, Chris, because I want him to answer that. But like, you see
What's up with
Spo,
y'all
you see
doing?
Missoula, you see all this. Like, I thought Missoula got dragged for no good reason. But like, I think he's been doing a good job. But like, what? As Chris said,
I mean, depending on the situation, like literally, like that's what I mean. An in-game adjustment. If somebody does something, if they run up the same play 5 times in a row, right, or they said the defense that they set is preventing us from getting points on 5 straight possessions, like I just want you to analyze it in real time. And I understand that that's difficult, and not a lot of coaches do that on the spur of the moment. But I think if you're talking about like the fast pace of today's NBA, with all the data we have, with all the stuff readily available at our fingertips, all the analytics, I think it should be easier to do those things. And here's the other thing though, and this what Willie get me back, because what adjustment is he gonna make?
No, I think what you're saying is more of implying himself. Like, you want to see him like really imply. I feel like too many times I get caught up with the game plan, and it's just the game plan. We're gonna stick. This is what we're gonna do.
All right, you know what? I'm gonna keep it a beam. My laptop
he just closed. I'm
gonna keep it a
man.
beam.
Like what you doing?
Keep trying to play me every time I give a question. Like,
That's crazy.
This is what it is. This is what I want for Willie Green. From what we know, from what we've been told, Willie Green is not controlling certain sections of the team.
We could talk about that. He's not controlling substitutions.
He's not controlling substitutions. He's not running offense or defense. Correct. If we're gonna put the blame on Willie, I want Willie to have all the responsibility. That's what I want.
I'm glad you said it, because that's what I was like. I was trying to get that. That's the answer, Chris. I was trying to get him to get that
better.
answer.
I mean, it's better. Like, okay,
he was dancing.
Call better. Like, damn, Lito, call better timeouts. Who are you? Call like be more strategic.
When I try not to be disrespectful, like you.
That's not disrespectful. Call more timely, like more timely breaks. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Willie, don't take the timeouts home. Don't take the timeouts home no more.
Don't take the challenges home. You know what I mean? Like don't.
Hey, Chris,
these are all.
Spo had an incredible. Was it Spoelstra had an incredible challenge in the third quarter? It was like early third. It was a hook play. Someone got hooked.
Yeah.
And I still think the basket counted, but I'm like, hey, that's like third quarter. No, screw this. Like, we need this possession, or I need to like. And I thought Spoelstra was like, I was like, damn, that was a ballsy challenge right there, right? And you never really see Willie do that, but Willie's 2 years and Spo's 14, 15, so it takes some time, right? Ivory, ooh. What do I want from you?
That's crazy.
All right. I have a good player. If he comes back, Jackson Hayes.
Ooh.
Yeah, bro. Oh, man.
Lito's upset. He didn't get that.
Jackson Hayes. See.
And this is tough because you didn't get to prepare for this.
No, not at all.
This is tough.
And again, we're going to get into a larger roster construction type conversation.
We got time.
Jackson Hayes, if he returns. Man, defense, interior defense. I would like to see Jackson Hayes be more of a presence, being a rim deterrent, be more, let his presence be known, rebounding the ball. I think those are 2 areas that he can focus on and become better. There's certain things that Jackson Hayes does that I absolutely love. He runs the floor like a gazelle. Yeah. He can guard the perimeter really well for someone his size. I think if he gets interior toughness and be able to like guard 5s, I think his value becomes exponentially more important for this team.
You brought up a really good point. His rim running is elite. It's something that a lot of people can't replicate in this league, and we talk about this all the time. But how do you keep him on the court, right? Because discipline, he gets really easy, cheap fouls, rebounding, screening, etc. If he can improve on that, I mean, you like the idea of Jackson, Chris. Like, you love the idea of Jackson, just right? Like, we talk about that all the time. But do you think he's coming back? I didn't ask you this, Chris. Do you think he's coming back?
I do. I can't imagine. And I've asked a few people. I don't anticipate there really being a market like crazy for Jackson. Maybe in a free agent class that isn't all that deep in regards to talent. There's some team out there or multiple teams that say, all right, this is a lottery ticket type of situation. We know the Pelicans may not want him to return. We'll go ahead and so but I do see a scenario where he does return. I mean, because the most frustrating element about this is that we've had similar scripts throughout his time in New Orleans and how things go, either people getting hurt or him falling out of rotation, not starting a rotation, then, ending up being on fire for a stretch. And we're like, all right, here we are. And then he ends up playing, down to his competition again, or disappointing. And we're right back wondering. And then boom, like the Thunder game again, he's the playing game. He's thrown into the fire, playing important minutes, but he's just not there. Right. So, but we keep talking about we've been talking about centers and big men for a while. I mean, since he's been drafted, to really be honest, from Favors to Adams to Jonas, and even when we talk about replacements, it's maddening that we have to consistently talk about them when the ideal guy to take this all over and be your center in this league is him. If he's able to somehow finally grasp the things mentally, fundamentally, and take some of these challenges personal, doing some of the things that you have to do at that position, and stay on the floor, I mean, it's like the sky's the limit for a dude of his ability. I mean, Ivory hit it on the head there, 100%.
Lito, is there anybody I left out that you want to talk about before we get in the next segment? Because you seemed upset, and I don't want to.
Nah.
He opened up the laptop, by the way, Chris.
Yeah,
I got nothing. I mean, I thought you was gonna ask me the Jackson Hayes question. Thank God. God you didn't.
I'll throw you CJ. I'll throw you CJ.
All right. What I want from CJ? I want for CJ to understand when his shot is not falling to read the room. I want him to be aware of who's on the floor with him. I want him to be aware of time and situation. I want him to be more involved in the pick and roll, and I don't want him to be afraid to pass it to the big when they roll or if they
nice.
Pop. That's what I want.
That was good. That was a good answer.
That was fantastic.
That was perfect. Ivor, you want to add on to that?
I had a slightly different player.
Yeah, go ahead.
Zion. I want to see Zion be as close to Draymond Green as possible.
Really?
Yes. The physical dimensions are there. Actually, Zion may have more tools defensively at his disposal to become an elite defensive player. I think he showed it in spurts last season. He showed it in different spots, but I think if Zion can be a small ball five and you play with like 4 shooters or guards, just for spurts, I think that would do wonders for this team.
You bring up an incredible point because we've talked about a lot of Zion at the 5, or even Trey, right, Chris? But Zion at the 5 is surrounded with shooting, and he's not a negative defensively. Once again, changes the dynamic of this team. And as a defender, I'll let whoever wants to answer this. I personally think that anybody in this room can be a good defender. I think personally it's a lot about effort and angles, in my opinion. It's effort and angles. And if you're in the NBA, it's also film, but effort and angles. Do you think if Zion got in shape, in a top tier shape, and gave a shit on defense? I'm not saying he didn't give a shit on defense, but if he played like Draymond, Chris, do you think he could change the course of this team? Because now if Zion can be a 5 and he can be somewhat of, he doesn't have to be Draymond, he has to be half of Draymond.
You're right.
Boxing out, rebounding, right? Pushing it up the floor, getting it out, stuff like that. And you started to see a little bit of that, Chris, with
you did
games against Phoenix, right? And you saw Minnesota. His most electric play was a steal. I think it was off of Ant. Did Edwards inbound the ball? And then he deflected it, took 2 dribbles and dunked it. Like, you see that consistently. Oh shit.
Zion.
That's why I cannot get over. Like I gotta believe in Zion. I have to.
No, I mean statistically, right? This was the first year. This was the first season where even statistically, him being at the 5 worked. Yeah. Every other year, it hadn't been something that had been successful consistently. This year, we saw it finally like work, even if it wasn't always beautiful to watch, and they had to find their way. Like you start to see him mixed with Herb and Trey minutes, like it was great for them. And I think building off that, and part of that to Ivory's point is him, like he did make some strides, I think, defensively. I don't know if you're gonna see him. I don't know if he'll ever be the communicator that Draymond is, and I think that's the biggest difference, right? Because the effort was back. The effort was
under Izzo too.
Draymond's one of the
Coach K.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean Draymond's a whole like he's one of the best communicators on the floor that we've seen at the point of attack, like or at the 5. He's one of the best that we've seen. So asking that from Zion, I don't think you'll get it, necessarily, but you slowly started to see some improvement. If he's able to improve there, and part of that, right, it's rebounding. It puts a bigger weight on him to rebound the basketball, which helps him and helps the team in transition. I mean, it's great. It's great for them. The Oklahoma City game actually comes to mind, where I believe he closed the game at the 5, and it was a little ugly, but it was really nothing that OKC could do down the stretch against him at that area, even if they decide to put him in the post. So yeah,
I agree. I agree to an extent, because I feel what you're saying. But he never gonna be Draymond. If he could be maybe 25%. No. I'm just speaking on. I'm strictly speaking from a defensive standpoint. Just because all right, you hoop for real. Like you're a real hooper. It's different between somebody who has all this athletic ability and somebody who just literally giving will on defense. The dude who got all the hops and all this explosion. Generally, he's gonna lack defensive principles because he don't have to have those. He can make up for mistakes in the air. Somebody like Draymond is fully aware of the film. I know everything you're gonna do. So when I say it, I'm just saying it to that point. He never gonna be that. But if he could be 25% of that, you know what I'm saying? With his ability, I think it'll be scary.
Yeah, because also Chris, he could get away with that at Duke, right? Be out of position, but he was so athletic and explosive that you would be versus Iona or whatever. And
that's DeAndre Hunter.
Yeah, I mean, perfect said. Last segment, Lito. I'm gonna start with you because I already know you're gonna say. I'm gonna let you because you weren't on the show, so I'm gonna start off with you.
All right, man.
Which non-star player? And I know Chris presented this. It can be in playoffs, but it can be out of the playoffs. It can be whoever. Which non-star player should the Pels target this offseason?
Hey, listen, I understand when you see teams, when you see guys in the playoffs and they playing off a superstar, and you kind of I think he can hoop, but he is in this system or he is with that coach. I think Gabe Vincent real. I think Gabe Vincent is the real deal. I think he a bucket. You know what I'm saying? I really truly believe that if you put Gabe Vincent in this system with the shooting of him and Trey and Jordan Hawkins, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I think you got magic right there. And to be honest with you, I fully believe, I know the whole thing about Pop and his role players and how you see him in a system and then you see him somewhere else and they don't have the same light to him. I think Gabe Vincent is a bucket though, and I think we will see big things from him in the future.
So, Chris, I'll let you respond to that and also go.
Nah, I mean, Dante DiVincenzo is one that I like, but to be honest, I'm really more concerned about certain role players that are currently on the team. I think that Dyson Daniels taking a leap for this team could do more than adding a guy like Dante or Gabe Vincent, you know what I'm saying? Any of those guys, if he's on the team, Dyson Daniels becoming better, him taking a leap forward, as the former number 8 overall pick does more for this team. So that's my more concern. Like that's my biggest concern. I understand that there's guys that they can add, and there's a bunch of dudes that we have and that we will talk about, especially as free agency and the draft starts. But for me, I'm more concerned about the dudes that are currently on the team, and especially those that are of Willie Green's favor, his variety. And Dyson's one of those type of individuals. I'm more concerned about those guys because it's a few of them that we can pencil in for minutes. We know Jose Alvarado, Herb Jones, Trey Murphy, Dyson. They should get minutes. They will all get minutes if they're on the team once the season tips off. But a guy like Dyson, I think it's way more valuable for him to get more minutes than us talking about. Because I mean, listen, if you add Gabe Vincent to this team, you're telling me that who's gone? Who's gone?
I got a list of you. What you want to do?
No,
I got a list. He's got computers loud.
I'm serious. I'm serious. I mean, we know the people that we could all put together a list of people that should be gone. Like ideally, right? Talent, like the better players should go. But I mean, they're not. Are you telling me that in this equation, Dyson's gone, right?
Hold on, let me ask you this. And I'm not knocking Dyson.
Yeah.
What do you think his ceiling is as a basketball player?
Derek White.
What should it be? Derek White?
Derek White.
Oh, no way.
Derek White. I'm not saying he's going to be that level of shooter necessarily, right? But that's the kind of guy that I think of at that range, that side combo that can defend. There's going to be a role player in this league. That's the kind of guy that I don't know. That's the dude because we were talking about, like last year, we were talking about Lonzo Ball. I think Derek White was a guy that was talked about. Chaz's guy was Kyle Anderson. Like we all, we talked about role playing dudes that were connectors, but they were pretty much all good defenders. To me, I see, like, ceiling wise, like right now, I see a Derek White with possibly a better handler, and I know he's a better passer.
All right.
Okay. Ivory.
Man.
This is your notes.
Yeah.
We got a laptop. We got notes over here, Chris. we got it all.
Man, there's like 3 players that I absolutely I love watching, and I think would be, great on the Pels now. Money and everything situation, that's something totally different. But Austin Reeves, man, huge Austin Reeves fan.
Okay.
I think what he brings for his toughness, his shooting ability, his ability to play with stars, play off the ball, knock down 3 points. I mean, he's a complete player on a perimeter. He's just tough, man. He draws a lot of fouls. I like that. Malik Monk, a two-way shooting guard. And I think Malik Monk is like where he was early in his career to now. I mean, night and day. Absolutely, one of the best shooting guards in the league. And KCP, what he's doing for Denver, again, being like a two-way perimeter stopper / scorer. I mean, those guys, big 6'5", big build, can score and play defense. Man, I think they would be great additions.
Damn, can I get off my list? Like I'm there.
List of what?
I'm jealous now.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I'm saying like
Lito, you're the big ticket, dude. This is your show.
Yeah.
You're the big. Chris, have you heard about this yet? Can we get to
him being called the big ticket?
Yes, you haven't heard about this yet.
First time ever hear anyone call him.
So we debuted bad tweets at our show and or the network. Yeah. And there was a guy that said, and he shouted you out too. He said, Lito and Chris carry the show. I think it was Lito. Lito is like KG with the Wolves, just wasting his talent. So we're calling him the big ticket now. He's Lito's big ticket. Yeah. Go ahead, Lito. Go with your list.
That should be a staple segment, by the way.
You know what? I think
a staple segment.
Big ticket.
Lala had asked, she goes, "Do you have a bad tweet this week?" I was like, "Actually, I don't think we've had a bad tweet this week."
I'm disappointed in y'all. That's crazy.
I thought we had it in the archives, but I can't
I'm
find
talking about the viewer, the listeners. Like, I'm disappointed that they didn't send any bad tweets.
Yeah, we've been pretty nice this week. Actually, we've been pretty nice.
Very inconsistent.
Very nice.
So I said Gabe. I like Bruce Brown. Hell, I like Caleb Martin.
Caleb he looks good.
I keep talking about Xavier Tillman. I like Dante DiVincenzo. I like George Niang. I like.
Am I off on Max Strus?
I love Max Strus. I love J. Michael Green. I like Trey Lyles.
You do have a list.
I like Anthony Lamb. I like the Plumlee brother who plays for the Clippers, who went from 40 to 70% free throw shooting.
Is it Mason?
Mason, yeah.
One of them Duke guys, man. Well,
what's your favorite team?
Justin, please. Yeah, like it's a lot of guys out there, but you know what? I like Chris's answer.
I was just about to say because I actually like Chris's answer too. Do you think that's more important that Dyson just takes the leap his second year? Then
I think eternal growth is always more important.
But can he do it? And like Chris, like he lays it out perfectly. But like the question is, can he actually do it? Because I want to hear your thought, and Chris, I want to hear your thought, and then I want to hear Ivory's thought. Because can he actually do it? From what you see,
what you asking me? Can he do?
Can he average? I mean, can he be a point guard? He says he's a point guard.
No.
Okay. Well, then let me see what the free agents have.
He's not a point guard.
I need him to be a point guard. Well, he has to be a point guard. He's not a shooting guard.
He's a wing.
What do you mean?
I mean, he's not. To me, he's not. He can never be the guy.
So then he doesn't fit with Zion. He doesn't fit with Brandon. Doesn't fit with CJ. He needs spacing.
I'm not the guy who drafted him. I'm just saying that I don't think he has the ability to do, or he has not shown the ability to be a primary ball handler, initiate the offense. And I understand he's 19. I know. That's
he's 20.
He's 20. I know. And this was year one. I totally understand. Good.
I believe that the Pels kind of envision him as a 6'7", 6'8" Derek Fisher type point guard, the 3-and-D type point guard, and not the one that would fit best next to healthy Zion and BI, not the one that's going to always initiate plays per se. I believe that was the vision for Dyson.
So all right. So if we, like you said, if he didn't put him to play next to Zion, then where is he most successul?
But that's what we've been asking, Chris. And Chris, I want to get you because
boss for your man. Say something.
Wait. It's on me. It's all on me.
Yeah,
that's cool. Look. Because I'm gonna keep it a buck. I made a lot of excuses last year for Dyson, and some of them were valid. But I mean, I ain't the only one. But I can admit that there were a lot of excuses laid out for Dyson, and I expected him to play a little bit better. Now I realize, like, he sprained his ankle 3 different times, and what he ended up being next to out there on the floor is different from what we envisioned or what we hoped. Year 2 gonna be different because year 2, all that goes out the window. That, like, no matter what. For some, being a top 10 pick, being the number 8 overall pick, you were supposed to go out there and ball no matter the circumstances. That's how a portion of the fan base looks at it. Year 2, he got to make it work, or we having a completely different conversation. So I think, can he do it, Justin? I don't. From what perspective? Can he do what?
Can he be a winning player? That's all I'm asking.
Yeah, he can be a winning player, and he can be. I mean, look, the brother averaged 3, 3, and 2 in 17 minutes. All right, so I mean, shit. Like, yes, he can be. He can. I'm gonna go on a limb and say he will be better than 3, 3, and 2. Okay.
All right, well, let's go in the notes.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. But I think with Dyson, it goes down to what I think Lito mentioned earlier in the show. He has to stop asking for permission. Be more so worried about asking for forgiveness. You got to, like, he's one of the few people on this team that again is a Willie Green style of dude. Like, those are the type of individuals that fit Willie's liking, that remind him more than likely of when he was a player, in the league. So more than likely, he's gonna have as many opportunities. Then he has the investment from the front office. You were a top 10 pick if he's on the team. right? Because there's always a chance by draft day they maybe have conversations with Toronto again. He's out of here, but if he's not, and he's on the team. He's gonna have more than enough opportunities, I think, for it to happen. But I think he has to stop worrying about mistakes, has to stop worrying about if it's right, hesitating, doing this, doing that, and he's going to have to become a better dribbler.
Yeah. Can I? Do you want to?
I know. I wanted to ask a question. I wanted to ask all of y'all a question. Mike Malone said something like very interesting about specialization in role players. And in regards to this team, right? So I know you said Herb, right? In order to don't put him in the corner, involve him in the action, right? But like at the end of the day, I'm just going to ignore Herb. And I'm going to make him have to shoot. Same with Dyson. So do you believe that going into this year, their shooting will be good enough to keep them on the floor? Because
Dyson, no, Herb, yes. I believe in Herb.
Because you were 21st in offensive rating.
But also, like, they played 60 games without Zion Williamson. Or 70, what was it? I'm sorry, 58 games without Zion Williamson, I think it was. Like, when Zion was on the court, people forget they were the number ones. No one gave a fuck about the offense or the defense or whatever. They just cared that we were number one in the Western Conference in December. I circled it. January 1st, we were number 2 in the Western Conference, and Zion goes out. Like, he in this is a perfect circle back of I need number 1 on the court because number 1 makes everybody better.
I feel that.
Everybody.
But at the end of the day, if I'm triple teaming him, I got 2 on Brandon, right?
Cool. Triple team him. I'll play 3-on-0 with the other 3.
And I'm gonna make Dyson Daniels beat me from the line.
I see. I think as an opposing coach, if you were to do that to me, then I wouldn't settle with Dyson just standing out there. I would involve Dyson in the action, whether it be screening, whether it be flaring, whether it be slipping, whether it be him handling the basketball, right? Initiating the offense. This is exactly why Dyson, who's a point guard, should be able to be a winning player with Zion on the court.
I don't think you can win championships in today's NBA with a hole offensively or defensively. Okay. I think if you look at the Denver Nuggets, they're slightly slanted offensively, but there's no weakness. Aaron Gordon's probably the worst shooter. I mean, they're shooting and playmaking all over the court at every position. If you want to be a championship team, I don't believe that you can have a point guard, especially shooting 30%. I'm estimating here. From 3-point land. I just don't see that being a recipe.
Let me ask you, do you envision Dyson? We're going a little bit overboard. That's fine. But do y'all envision Dyson, like, if he were in the playoffs, getting 25 to 28 minutes right now? Or do you think it'd be cut severely?
Like today?
Yeah.
Oh no, hell no.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like, okay, so let's revert it back to kind of like Herb, right? So,
but I think Spoelstra is a mastermind. I think
he's
Spoelstra
one of the best coaches, not only in today's game, but of the history of the game.
I think Dyson in the Miami system. I think Spoelstra will maximize his ability some way, somehow. I think Spoelstra spends nights 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning thinking about that type of stuff.
And one play, you make a great point, because Chris had alluded to the OKC game. And we talk about putting players in positions. We were talking about Jackson, right? When they ran that set, it was like the second last possession of the game. They put Jackson Hayes on the elbow. Trey was going to come off a double stagger. Instead of Trey, he refused and went backdoor. Okay. And Jackson completely missed him. He was wide open. Instead, I think we fumbled it. CJ takes a terrible shot, whatever. You put Dyson, you put Herb, you put a playmaker, the guy I'm not saying Jackson don't have IQ, but I'm saying that he's not used to that position. You put Dyson there, who is a high IQ player, who can, I think, pass and make the right play. You're talking about maximizing them, right? That goes back to the whole loophole we talk about coaching staff. Because you can't, like, I wasn't mad that Jackson missed that back door, because Jackson in the fourth quarter with 35, 40 seconds left isn't used to making that read. So I do think that Spoelstra, like, I want to get your point out. Why do you think Dyson would thrive? Because of the better coaching staff, the better.
I think the Miami culture, the Miami system is predicated on defense first and being a high processor of basketball. I just think, Spoelstra does the most with the least. I mean, the majority of the guys are like, non-drafted guys.
It's Gabe, Maxon. Who's the third I'm missing? Is it Caleb?
Caleb Martin was drafted.
Yeah, he was drafted by.
I think they closed like game 4 or 5 with like 3 non.
But I don't know if it would win. I think you would maximize and optimize his abilities with his limitations.
I agree. Chris, you got anything?
No. I think all well said.
Lito wants it.
I was just gonna say I was asking that question just because like I watched Jared Vanderbilt get played off the floor. Like I watched.
Did you think Ham misused him, or did you think that it was more of a coaching thing from Mike Malone?
I mean, I don't think the Lakers were that talented.
I disagree. I think they're very talented.
In comparison to who they were playing.
I mean, they have LeBron James, Anthony Davis.
But you know what though? I mean, do you think that this comes down to like? Do you think Dyson projects to be like, okay, Aaron Gordon, I think for his career is like 34, 33% 3-point shooter. It really all comes down to what kind of shooter do you see him as? Like, if you think he's going to be that bad as Vanderbilt, then no. I mean, you're going to be in trouble. If Herb Jones is shooting how he was pre-All-Star break roughly, where, I mean, he was like, what, 20-something% from, like, it was not the guy that we saw in March, I think roughly, where he was like 38, 37%. If he's the guy pre-All-Star break, then yeah, I mean, without a doubt. I mean, what kind of shooter do you see Dyson becoming?
So sorry, go ahead. Well, I was going to get to your Aaron Gordon comparison. Aaron Gordon, 6'8", 235, career 3-point shooter, 32.5%. But
yeah, I mean, what do you see? Because with Dyson, it doesn't, like, I think the shot in itself is okay. A couple tweaks that it's going
nice.
To. It's nice, a little robotic. We're talking about this. A little robotic, but
yeah, but it doesn't look. It's not broken.
No.
So what do you see with Herb? With Herb, there's clearly when he's struggling, like, the fundamentals, the mechanics are off. Okay. Like, you can tell the dude.
Yep.
Herb's jump shot in March, even like how it was structured from his feet to him catching and releasing, it's totally different from the dude that was struggling before.
Yeah.
We'll see with Dyson.
Well, that was a great show. Ivory, thanks for joining the show, man. That was awesome. Much. Really appreciate you having me on. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Chris, before we get off, this is the tweet. Lito and Chris, the only smart one in the Pro Pels podcast. He's wasting his time like KG on the Wolves. Driver back out there. So then Ross deemed him the big ticket last week, so he is now the big ticket.
Well, Chris was in the tweet too. So
yeah, Chris is, but it says
no, he wasn't talking about me. He was talking about Lito. He was talking about Lito.
But he don't say who he don't say who he talking about though.
Maybe Chris.
We gonna say it was you.
Chris might Chris might be the big ticket.
We gonna say it was you, Lito. You are the big ticket. I don't know if I'm Stephon Marbury or if I'm like Latrell Sprewell. If I joined the team late, are you Boston? Are you Boston, KG? Like, because I could pick a player. You want me Paul Pierce? I know how much you love Paul Pierce.
Hey, speaking of which, Lito was starstruck there in Vegas when he did see the big ticket. That dude is about as intense.
They both started sweating.
What's wrong with you? Hey, don't disrespect Melo no more. Don't disrespect Carmelo Anthony no more.
He disrespected Melo?
He did. It's all right. We don't have to get into it, but he did.
Wow. Like, comment, subscribe. Draft coming up. Chris, you're going live for the draft, huh?
Yeah.
I'm excited for that.
Who the better player, Melo or Paul Pierce?
You said Paul Pierce, Chris?
Oh, I say it again.
Wow. What is wrong?
If it's a better, who had a better career to me?
Come on.
Who's the better bucket getter?
Come on.
Melo's one of the best. Like he's a generational scorer to me as an art. Better overall player, like for a career to me. All things considered, I think it's Paul Pierce.
You're not allowed to have an opinion according to Twitter. You can't have.
No, you don't.
Okay, you cannot have opinions. So Like, comment, subscribe. Love to hear your thoughts. We will see y'all on either Wednesday or Thursday.